Today we have special guest returning Joe Evangelisti. If you have not seen the other episode, please go check it out. We covered about financing, finding the right money, storage, all that good stuff. If you have not seen it, please go check it out. But today we have deal breakdown. We cover cool, interesting stories. Joe, what is your cool, interesting story you have for us today?
Cool, interesting story. Man, you caught me off guard. I got all kinds of cool, interesting stories. Let's see. What do you want to hear about? You want to hear about storage? You want to hear about flipping houses? You want to hear about, I don't know, hiring, firing? Cool, interesting story.
Maybe one of each. I don't know. They're quick.
One of each. I don't know. I gotta think about this for a second. Cool, interesting stories. Well, I just told you a cool, interesting story with the private lender.
Yeah.
Cool, interesting story. You guys don't have underground oil tanks near you, do you?
I don't even know what that is.
All right, so here's a cool, interesting story. So big environmental hazard near us. Everything up in the Northeast, or not everything, but one of the biggest challenges you have up near in the Northeast is underground oil tanks. Okay, so we have oil heat near us, and like when you look at a house, single family, when you're getting ready to flip something, biggest challenge you can find is like knob and tube wiring, asbestos, and underground oil tanks. Those are like the three big things that you look for. And an underground oil tank, the reason it's a problem is if it wasn't like mitigated properly or taken out, removed, and it leaked, it could be like a major EPA catastrophe, right? So like a lot of times people will sell their house and they'll just ignore that it was there, or and they didn't know it was there. So I'm doing my biggest project I've ever done years ago, and we built a new construction house that we sold for like 1.5 million. And I paid 500 grand for the dirt, for the piece of ground that it was on. And at that time, biggest project I ever taken down. And I bought it from another developer. So disclosure wise, it's kind of like hard to piece together the pieces because it wasn't even like a seller lived there. I just bought it from a developer. He had bought it and actually did a subdivision of 3 different lots. And I bought one of the 3 lots. So my excavator's there digging the foundation, getting ready to a new foundation walls in. And we're using these things called superior walls, which are like precast walls that go in the ground. And so literally he's digging one day and the next day they're going to do precast walls and drop them in the ground. And so we get this call from the excavator, calls my business partner, and he's like, dude, you're going to want to get down here right away. And we're like, what the hell does that mean? Like, you know, there's only like so many things you can dig out of the ground, right? Like dead bodies or God knows what, right?
Yeah.
So he sends us a photo and there's an underground tank in the center of the foundation that's like the size of a tanker. Like normally an underground oil tank is like, I don't know, like 200 gallons. It's like the size of a, I don't know, like a hot tub, right? Would be like a normal underground tank. This thing is like the size of like half of a tractor trailer. Like it's absolutely enormous. So the first thing I did is call my attorney. Like I call my attorney. I'm like, what the hell do I do? This has got to be like 1,000-gallon oil tank. It's under the ground. Like this thing, like everything's got to stop, man. So he goes, you got to call the building inspector. He's like, it's too late now. He's like, so of course the guys, the first thing the guys do is like, do you want us to bury it? Do you want us to dig it out of the ground? Do you want us to hide it? We're in New Jersey, right? So everybody's always trying to figure out the way to get away with something. He's like, my attorney's like, dude, you cannot get away with this. He's like, it's a gigantic, tank. So he's like, you gotta call people and find out what's going on. So I called the building inspector, who's, by the way, a really tough dude to deal with, not an easy guy to deal with, right? And I'm thinking to myself, like, what's the risk? Like, we have a $500,000 piece of dirt, and this could be a massive EPA deal. And by the way, if one of these things leaks into the water, like the water system underneath the ground, it could be millions of dollars. Like it could be game over, man. So my whole life is flashing before my eyes. I have probably 20 or 30 other rehabs going on. And, I'm thinking like I'm probably filing bankruptcy with this phone call. Right. So I call the building inspector and he, in like 30 seconds, I give him the address and I go, we just hit a tank. And he goes to me, oh, it's no big deal. It was abandoned properly back in like 1996. They filled it with sand. It's all good. You can just dig it out of the hole and throw it away. Just like that. Like he knew when they did the subdivision that the old owner had filled it properly with sand, which was something you could do like in the 90s. They won't let you do it anymore. You have to dig the tank out of the ground and throw it away. But like it was abandoned properly and they had permits for it. We had never heard about this. There was no filing. We had no paperwork. When we bought the house, we never know that there was a tank under the ground. Nobody ever told us anything about it. But somehow the building inspector knew all about it. And he literally was like, yep, just dig it out, throw it away. No big deal. Keep going. So for about 10 minutes, like I thought my entire life was coming to an end. And
you're giving me a heart attack because you're giving me a heart attack. I'm like, I don't even know how this ends. Like,
so there you go. There's my fun story for. There's a little flipping story. Ended up selling the house for 1.5, and life goes on.
One thing that I'm starting to realize, and I'm hearing a lot more, is that once you start digging, all bets are off. You don't know what you're gonna find.
Let me tell you, man, I've got so many crazy digging stories, and that's not the first time or the last time that happened to me with underground tanks. And knock on wood, luckily, I've had it happen a few times where we've had to get inspectors come, and the tank, thank God, was empty. And we've hit Indian burial grounds, we've hit all kinds of crazy stuff digging. And like I said, luckily, never had any problems long term. But yeah, that's one of those real estate investing things, is whatever's underground. You can't help but, hit something every once in a while.
That is insane. That's a great story. I appreciate it. Yeah. Like for everybody here that wants to be a developer, once you start digging, all bets are off. That's the last thing. All bets are off.
Absolutely.
You know what you're gonna find. Where can people find you online? I have the Legacy podcast.
Yep, Legacy Blueprint podcast, and then website is legacybuilder.coach. Legacybuilder.coach.
Legacybuilder.coach. Man, this has been a good time. For everybody here, please go check out the other episode. It was good. Both the episodes are good.
Cool.
Thank you, Joe, for coming on. For everybody here, go like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, guys.